Konnichiwa, and welcome back to episode 3 of that movie show. Today's episode is going to be something slightly different. I'm going to be exploring what-if scenarios. It's something new for the show. Today's is a tiny bit extra special than normal because I'm going to be looking at everybody's favourite lightsaber-wielding sci-fi fantasy adventure series, Star Wars. It's even more special than normal because I'm actually going to be also discussing my predictions for The Last Jedi, the latest in the Star Wars series. So, if you don't want any spoilers for The Last Jedi, then I suggest you don't watch this episode, just because I might reveal some spoilers and they might be correct. Before we get going, if you're watching the show and you've watched my other shows, then hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to thumbs up. I've been a Star Wars fan for a long time. I've seen all of the movies, I've owned them multiple times on multiple formats. And one thing that's always kind of made me uncomfortable about the series. And I'm not talking about all those times that Luke and Leia tried to bang each other. No, I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was that was bothering me until I was watching Revenge of the Sith the other day and this scene came on.
From my point of view, the Jedi
And then
are evil.
it hit me. I understood what it was that I was uncomfortable with about the series, and it's the Jedi themselves, or rather the Jedi methods that I was uncomfortable with. Let me explain. So the what if question for this episode is as follows. What if the Jedi were responsible for every major bad thing that happened in the Star Wars series? So before we uncover how it is that they've caused all of the major bad things that's happened in the Star Wars series, we first have to talk about what it is that makes me uncomfortable about the Jedi. Two things mostly. The first one is, who do they recruit? And how do they train? So number one's really easy. Who do they recruit? They recruit Force-sensitive children. More specifically, very young children who are yet to hit their formative years and develop an identity, belief and value system of their own. Now the Jedi say that this is so that they can have the greatest possible opportunity to influence that individual into joining the light side of the Force. I'm not too sure that I agree with that assessment, and you'll see why. Okay, so the next thing we needed to answer was, how do they train? Well, you can break Jedi training, or as I like to call it, conditioning, down to 3 basic principles. The first of which is sever all ties with friends, family, and possessions. Now, the Jedi reason for this is that they say that having these kind of emotional ties leads to the dark side, since sooner or later they're going to cause you some form of pain, which is how you end up in the dark side. But I think the real reason why they do this is because when you force someone to sever all ties with friends and family and get rid of all of their possessions, what you're essentially doing is stripping that person of identity. Stripping the individual of identity actually removes the individual, which from the Jedi's perspective is good because they don't want individuals that question things. They don't want individuals that have a free will of their own. They want people as part of the Jedi Order who simply follow instructions and stick to the code. They don't want people to question it, they don't want people to deviate from it. That's why they strip you of all your identity. Principle 2. They dampen or flat out suppress all emotional responses. Now, the Jedi reason for this is that emotional responses lead to the dark side. There's a pattern here. But what they actually do this for is because when you suppress someone's emotional responses, they actually don't have any empathy. Which means if you give them an order or instruction which could be morally or ethically questionable, they won't question it because they don't have morals or ethics because they have no empathy and no emotional responses. So this makes it a far more compliant member of the Jedi Order. Which leads me into principle number 3, which is instill an unshakable and unwavering level of obedience in your recruits. Now obviously the Jedi want this because they want everybody to do as they say. In fact, here's a clip of Luke being told that very thing from possibly the greatest Jedi in history.
But tell me why I can't.
No, there is no why.
Right? Yeah, there is no why. You don't get to ask questions like why. You should do, not ask why. Don't question the instructions, just follow them. Now then, let's have a quick recap of all that. They recruit children. They strip them of all identity, friends, family and possessions. They dampen all their emotional responses. And they instill a strict level of obedience in them. You know, we have a couple of groups here on our pokey little planet that do those exact same things. These guys. Yep, African warlords and terrorists also use the exact same tactics to recruit here on Earth. Now, I'm not saying that the Jedi are secretly terrorists or African warlords. What I'm actually saying is that their methods are highly questionable. So, in short, the Jedi are assholes. But that doesn't answer the question of how they've caused all of the major problems in the Star Wars universe. For that, we have to actually look at the key elements of the story. In fact, you can trace every bad thing that ever happened in the Star Wars universe back to one thing. No, not that. And not him either. It's actually this. The rape and murder of Shmi Skywalker. This is what sets Anakin off on the path to the dark side. Actually, it's not. That's a misconception. The event itself doesn't do that. It's the handling of Anakin afterwards which does that. Pop quiz. Imagine a friend of yours has just been told that his mum's been raped and murdered. How do you respond to this? Do you A, tell that person to stop whining, forget about his mum, and do as he's told? Or B, show that person some empathy, compassion, and some support during this difficult time? Of course it's fucking B! We're not goddamn monsters on this planet, we're human beings, and we recognise that sometimes, especially in circumstances as devastating as that, you need a bit of help to get through those times. Guess which approach the Jedi take? Yep, they take option A, because to them that is the best option. They ostracize Anakin, they isolate him, and they make him feel guilty about feeling bad about what happened to his mother. Not exactly the best response. In fact, it's probably the exact opposite of the best response. But you know what? There is somebody in the Star Wars universe that does give Anakin those things. He does give him empathy, he does give him compassion and support. Emperor Palpatine! Yeah, right! The villain of the series is actually the person who's the nicest to Anakin at this particular moment. Now, whether or not those things are genuine from Palpatine is another question, but it's actually an irrelevant question because it doesn't matter if they're genuine. All it matters is that Anakin believed they were genuine, and he clearly did, because from that moment on he starts to gravitate towards Palpatine, which you probably would in those circumstances. The person who's offered you the most support is clearly going to be the person you're closest to. Clear misstep from the Jedi. So now we've established that everything from that point on, the rise of the Empire, the rise of the Emperor, the creation of Darth Vader, the Death Star, the destruction of Alderaan, even the stuff that happens in The Force Awakens is all a result of the mishandling of Anakin at that particular moment. Now, by the way, I think I should mention at this point that I don't think that even if Anakin had accepted all of those Jedi principles that I listed at the start of this video, that he would have become a Jedi and been able to just separate himself from this incident with his mum. Unfortunately, nothing would have stopped that, because he's so young and this comes so early in his psychological development that this was going to be devastating regardless, and he was never going to be able to separate himself from it. The only thing that you could do was respond to it better and hope that he doesn't become Darth Vader, which I don't believe he would if the Jedi had done what Palpatine did. So, the Jedi created all the major problems in the Star Wars universe. But actually it doesn't stop there either. Let's fast forward to Return of the Jedi, when Darth Vader throws the Emperor into the big nuclear toilet at the end and saves Luke. Why does this happen? If, in your head, you were just answering, well, because Luke is Darth Vader's son and he wants to save him, you were almost right. You're 50% of the way there. But the actual full reason for this is that Anakin never accepted Jedi training. He rejected all of those Jedi principles that we listed at the start. It's a result of the fact that he never severed family ties, that he didn't dampen his emotional responses, and in fact embraced both of those two things, that by the time Return of the Jedi comes around, he sees Luke being tortured, he feels empathy for him, and decides to save him. All because he rejected Jedi principles. Wacky, right? Not only did the Jedi cause all of their own problems, but their way wouldn't have fixed the problem either, and would have perpetuated all of the same issues. But that's not it either, there is still more. Let's go back a bit to A New Hope. Luke is given all the same bullshit training that they tried to feed to Anakin. They tell him that he's got to forget about his friends, he's got to lose all of his emotions and succumb to the Jedi way. And just like his dad, Luke says, no way man, I'm going to go save all my friends on Cloud City. That is my primary goal. And he ditches Yoda on Dagobah and he goes and saves his friends and completely rejects Jedi principles, just like his dad. This is getting to be a long rant. Now, the only reason that Luke is even able to see that Vader can be redeemed in Return of the Jedi is because he rejected the Jedi principles. He sees the good in Anakin because he understands that the light and the dark side are not mutually exclusive and they're not binary opposites. They can, in fact, be used at the same time in the same person without causing problems. He knows this, and because of this lack of succumbing to the binary view that the Jedi have of light and dark, Obi-Wan and Yoda couldn't see that Vader could be saved. They said he needed to be destroyed, that Anakin was dead. Luke didn't, and it isn't just because he's his son, it's because he doesn't see the same binary view that the Jedi do, and so he could see that Anakin could be redeemed. So the only reason that Luke even attempts to redeem Vader is because he rejected Jedi ways. Wow, that is absolutely fucking crazy. So the Jedi caused all the problems, and not only would their way have not fixed that problem, but it would have perpetuated it, and it's only through ignoring the Jedi way that Luke is able to fix everything and save the galaxy. I guess the Jedi really are assholes. Okay, now this leads us into my prediction for The Last Jedi. So if you don't want to know what's going to happen in The Last Jedi, I suggest you stop watching here and give me a thumbs up. Now, as we just pointed out, the Jedi way not only created all those problems, it failed to solve any of those problems, and Luke saw all of that firsthand. Not just from seeing what happened to his dad, but actually the exact same thing happened to him, and his way was actually the way to fix it. The Jedi way wouldn't have fixed it. I think Luke recognizes this, and the reason that it's called The Last Jedi is that Luke is going to be the last Jedi. He's going to go and find all Jedi teachings, all Jedi temples, and he's going to destroy everything. He's going to attempt to remove all traces of Jedi from history, because he recognizes that the way it causes a lot of problems, is very morally and ethically questionable. I think he's just going to destroy all traces of the Jedi. So my prediction for The Last Jedi is going to be as such. With 100% accuracy, I think Luke is going to destroy all the Jedi. He isn't going to turn bad, he's not going to fall to the dark side, he's simply going to remove all traces of Jedi and install something better in its place, a bit more balanced. My next prediction is that I believe that he's going to turn Ben Solo back to the light side, for the exact same reasons that he was able to turn Vader back and that he tried to turn Vader back. I think he's going to do the exact same, especially because Disney and crew have made no bones about the fact that they're quite happy to just repeat the same things from the previous films. So I think that's the thing that's going to get repeated. Now, something I'm less sure about, but I do actually think could happen, is I think Rey might take Solo's place at Emperor Snoke's side and turn to the dark side. So that's it. That's this episode, all wrapped up in a nutshell. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I hope that what I've said has given you some fresh perspective on the old movies, and that you can actually go through the prequel trilogy now and watch it from Anakin's point of view and understand why it is that he became the way he did. As I said at the start, if you've enjoyed this video, then please give me a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button so you can see more videos from me in the future. I'm going to be doing shitloads more. And don't forget to share us on social media, then other people can enjoy it too. Thank you very much for joining me today. I've really enjoyed doing the show, even if it has been a bit of a rant. Thanks for your time, guys, and let's hope I'm right about The Last Jedi, right? Sayonara.